You can probably imagine I love our Christmas services at Suncrest because there's so many things I love about them. Let me name two to you. One is that we always have a lot of guests, a lot of newcomers to Suncrest at Christmas. And if that's you, I hope that you feel welcomed. I hope you feel warmly welcomed. Like this could be a place you can even imagine yourself beyond this current experience. And we care a lot about you. I know people come to Christmas Eve services under different circumstances. Talked to one guy in the Commons area after the last service, and I said, "Hey, it's good to see you." He's like, "Yeah, I was here at Christmas last year." He said, "See you next year." I'm like, "Well, thanks for keeping it real, buddy." And I guess Christmas is the term DTR, we define the relationship there. So, and some of you were waiting on an invitation to Suncrest from one of your friends who goes to Suncrest for a long time, and they finally asked you. And you're like, I've seen what that has done in their lives. I've seen the faith they live out. I've seen that. I was just waiting for an invitation. How awkward might it be to walk in here and come without an invitation, but when one of your best friends is here? So all those invitations and everyone in between, I'm really, really glad you're here. And I hope you can picture that this is the kind of place you could come back to in the new year. The other thing that I love about our Christmas services is in a very short time here, 60 minutes in this room, maybe 90 minutes for your whole experience, you experience so much of what Suncrest embodies, right? We like to laugh. We like to have a good time. We take faith very seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. We love the next generation. Having kids in the room, I think that's awesome. I love that the next generation is strong at our church. So whether you're kids, middle schoolers, high schoolers, like you make our church what it is, and we are thrilled about that. I always think I want to teach a message that people can understand in real life terms, and hopefully you experienced that tonight, but especially right after the new year, I'm going to start a new teaching series. It's called Weeds in My Garden, and the whole idea is that the garden is our mind. And it's really a series about mental health and about our identity and people who are struggling sometimes with anxiety or darkness, depression. Like, if that's you or if it's someone you know, I really hope you'll come back. The scriptures have some tremendous wisdom about these things. And then I think, it's important for us to be together in a place like this because the supernatural happens here. Now, I don't mean to say that you experience supernatural things of every moment of your life. What I'm saying is God breaks through in real and powerful and tangible ways all the time. Now, I know in our world today, some people are hesitant to embrace the supernatural. And even in Christmas season, you might think, the virgin birth, I'm not so sure about that. But honestly, if all you have to do is believe in God and that God created the world, that he's the one who gave the natural order of things, made the laws of nature and the universe. And if he made the laws of the universe, it stands to reason that he and he alone can interrupt the laws of the universe in order to interact with us. And to bring things to us, that's part of what Christmas is about, to bring one to us, to help us see who God really is. And I just want us to think about this because I find so many people today just have limits on their minds. It's almost as if I can't understand it, then it can't be true. If I can't comprehend it, then it can't be real. But there is a whole world out there that is beyond our comprehension and our understanding that is the world of God. And if we miss out, if we limit ourselves to a life without that, I'm just saying, you're missing out. And fundamental to the supernatural way that God interacts with our world, especially at Christmas, is the idea of hope. Hope. Not hope in me or hope in you, but hope in God and the idea that things can be different. Now, kids, I'm going to have all of you grab your boxes real quick. Can you grab your boxes for me? I want to talk to your grown-ups here for just a little bit, but inside that box, you have a nativity scene, a manger scene that looks kind of like this. This is so cool. Instead of being stickers, they're just clings. You can put them on there wherever you want. And kids, I want to ask you, when I'm talking to the grown-ups just over the next couple minutes, to do two things for me with this manger scene, okay? First, I want you to think, how do you picture the manger scene? It's probably with baby Jesus in the middle and Mary and Joseph next to him, or whatever. How do you picture it? And you arrange everything there, the star, the angels, all that on there, okay? And then when you're done with that, if I'm not done talking to the grown-ups yet, second thing you can do, you can take baby Jesus, put him right in the middle, and then arrange the rest of it whatever crazy way you want to arrange it. I'm telling you, if you want that donkey to be pooping a star onto a wise man, you have my permission to do that, okay? But just make sure Jesus is in the center of the mess, because there's a little lesson in there for all of us when it comes to that, right? So let me talk about this idea of hope a little bit. Because whenever we come, to a Christmas season like this, it's like, oh, hope is a real thing. Families have Christmas traditions, and you learn a lot about a family from the Christmas traditions that they have. My family and my wife's family, we have some Christmas traditions. On Christmas Day, for the last 30 plus years, I've been at my wife's family. My wife's maiden name is Royalty, so it's the Royalty family. You would think I would have taken her name when we got married, wouldn't you? But the Royalty family Christmas is a big deal. Her parents bought a house that was a dilapidated mansion about 15 years ago. They fixed it all up. It's beautiful. They'll have 70 people there this Christmas Day. They invite all the family, but it's not just family. They invite people who don't have anywhere else to go. I think in the real spirit of Christmas, it's like, hey, everyone is welcome. We will have people there who are ex-husbands and ex-wives of people who are there. That's how inclusive they are. It's just nuts to me, but it all works. And my father-in-law loves to throw a good party, and the Royalty family loves to play cards. They love to play hearts in particular. Now, I don't know if any of you play hearts. I like the game. I like playing it with the family. This is going to sound like I'm bragging, because I am. I'm amazing at hearts. Like out of all of Jenny's family, definitely top two. Definitely top two. And by top two, I mean second. Okay, so the one who's better than me is my father-in-law, Larry. It's kind of annoying, right? But while he's number one at hearts, I'm number one at trash talking. So it all works out for us when we're around the table. Now, a number of years ago, Larry wants this to be such a big deal at Christmas that he decided we would have a hearts tournament every year. And to memorialize it, he went out and he bought a trophy, a plaque. This is actually that plaque. And whoever the champion is that year, you get your name on the plaque for that year. This plaque hangs in a very prominent place in their home. It's a big deal to get your name on the plaque. And Larry and I were kind of competitive with each other. So once he got his name on the plaque, he decided he didn't really care if he got his name on it again. He just wanted to keep me from getting my name on the plaque, right? And I've had a terrible run. Let's just be honest about it. And my wife's name is on the plaque. I have a son whose name is on the plaque. My name was not on the plaque. And then finally, a few years ago, I broke through and I finally won the Christmas Hearts Tournament. My father-in-law put my name on the plaque for 2020. He engraved that on there. Like, sore loser, my father-in-law. But it makes it a lot of fun on Christmas Day. We have a big meal, and then we open presents, and then about 3 o'clock, someone goes around and says, well, it's about time to start the Hearts Tournament, and there's multiple tables, and you play, and it's after midnight when this game is over. It's really a game of endurance more than skill. But it's so wild to me, because at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, there's 35 people who are going to play in this Hearts Tournament, and they all think they have hope of winning, right? And they don't. Some of them have no skills at all. Some don't even know the rules, which is what messes up my game, but that's another story for another time. I think it's very interesting how we use the word hope, because some people use the word hope just to mean wish. I wish I would win. There's no substance to it. It's an empty hope, really. It's just a wish. The best definition I have of hope that I've come across is this. I don't know if you'll like this or not. Hope is a bet on something or someone other than myself. Hope is a bet on someone beyond me. I might be hoping in you, or you might be hoping in me. I might be hoping in God. That's part of the message of Christmas. But it's not hoping in myself. This is why it's so important. Some of you bet on yourself. A lot of us have things that we want to be different, right? You have something that you want to happen. Maybe it's at this Christmas season. You want something to happen in a relationship with someone in your family. Definitely, as we look to 2025, we all have hopes that there are certain things that will be different next year than this year. And we could go through the list. We all live the same lives to some degree. A lot of us have hopes for relationships. We're lonely right now, and we want a relationship to begin. You want him to ask you to marry him. You want to find the one. A lot of times, honestly, the hopes that we have aren't a new relationship. It's a hope about a relationship we have that isn't going the way we want it to go. And we hope that next year it will be different, that he'll be different, that she'll be different in some way. It's not just relationships, though. Sometimes you have hopes for new seasons of life, a new house, a new job. Some of you are just given some news medically, and it has placed you in a place where you're hoping that healing can come. Hope is a powerful, powerful force. But here's what I want you to think about. If you bet on yourself in those situations, If you look into next year and your hope is that a habit would change, either you're going to start a habit or you have a habit in your life and it's not good. It has to come to an end. And you're going to bet on yourself to end that habit. When you bet on yourself, you might use the word hope to say, I hope this changes, but that's not really hope. That's your plan. You're betting on yourself. And there's nothing wrong necessarily with betting on yourself. There's some good things about it. It's taking personal responsibility for your life. You might be building in disciplines for your life that help you become stronger and more powerful for the days and years to come. That's beautiful. I mean, we live in America, right? What country other than ours do you bet on yourself? But there are some risks to betting on yourself. And they tend to be long-term risks. I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but I want to ask you to help you see this isn't hope. See, if you bet on yourself, even if you succeed, if you get the job, if you get the girl, if you fix the relationship, if you stop the habit, if you bet on yourself and you succeed, over the long term, that will breed pride inside of you. You can be honest about that, right? And pride is not a good thing. Pride will cause you to start looking down on other people, to think you're better than them. Pride will cause you to overestimate what you can tackle next, and it will create distance within your relationships. It will cause you not to want to admit when you're wrong. Like, pride is not a good thing. The scriptures actually say pride comes before the fall. But if you bet on yourself and you succeed, chances are it leads to pride. If you bet on yourself, I'm going to stop that habit, I'm going to tackle that mountain, and you fail, that has an effect on you also. How many times have I seen people just devastated because they thought they could do something and then they were embarrassed, they were humiliated, they failed. And more than even being embarrassed and humiliated to other people, it was actually how they started to look at themselves. You know, some of you know. The power of going for something, thinking you can do it, and then failing. A lot of times what happens then is you just don't go for it anymore. You just start living a small, very limited life where you feel like, I can't bet on myself. And it will do things to your mental health and to your identity and how you think about yourself. Like, betting on yourself it comes with some risks. And that's because we've started to center everything in ourselves. So what hope is hope is betting on someone or something that's beyond you. And I'm here to tell you this Christmas that God is hope worthy. He is trustworthy. And there are places for your life and for mine where we should stop betting on ourselves and put ourselves trusting in Him. Now, I want us to think about this a little bit, but I want to bring the kids back into the conversation here, okay? So, kids, I have some questions for you. I'm going to need you to turn your bracelets on, okay? Can all the kids in the room turn your bracelets on? Adults, you can turn yours on too if you think it's extra fun and you want to play along with the kids. But I have 3 questions for the kids, and then we're going to interact with a few words on the screen to talk about hope, okay? So, kids, here's the situation. I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to hold your bracelet down low at first, and when you know in your head you have the answer to the question, raise up your bracelet so I know we're ready, and then I'm going to have everyone answer out loud together, okay? First one's going to be super easy. You're ready for this one, okay? Bracelets down low. All right, here's the question, kids. What do you hope for under the Christmas tree? You got it? You got it? All right, what is it? Let me hear them. All right, there's some good stuff there, parents. I'm here to help. I'm here to help. Or hurt, depending how that one just came out. I don't know. All right, kids, I got a second question for you. This one's a little tougher. It's a little tougher, okay? So I want to everyone have your arms down. You can raise your arm when you're ready to answer the question, okay? I want you to think, what do you hope for in your family next year? What do you hope for? It could be maybe you're hoping to take a trip together. Maybe you're hoping that you'll get along better. Maybe you could be hoping for anything. You have your answer. What do you hope for in your family next year? Hands up. All right, let's hear them. What are you hoping for in your family? Yeah? Did they say a little brother? Oh, no, I didn't mean to put you on the spot over there. So, okay. All right, hands down one more time. One more question. This is a little tougher. This is a little tougher, kids. I'm going to ask you to stop thinking about things you hope for yourself and think about somebody else and what they might hope for, okay? And what you hope for them. So arms down, arms down. I want you to think about something for your little brother or your older sister or your mom or your dad. What's something they want? What's something they hope for? And you hope for it too, for them. What could that possibly be? This is tough. I don't know if anyone's going to come up with one of these answers. Are there any hands that are ready to answer this question? All right, tell me what they are. Tell me what they are. Yeah. I just want to say, I think it's a good thing, kids. I think it's a good thing if you start thinking, what are my hopes for other people, not just for myself? That's a big deal. So kids, here's what we're going to do next. I'm going to read a bunch of words off the screen. A lot of them are going to be scriptures here in a moment. And every time I read the word hope off the screen, I just want you to throw that bracelet up in the air and kind of let the light shine with this, okay? But before I get to the scriptures, I'm going to get to the second greatest movie of all time. The second greatest movie of all time is Shawshank Redemption. Thank you for answering that question. You know what the greatest movie of all time is, right? The cinematic masterpiece that is Christmas Vacation, the greatest movie of all time. Great. You serious, Clark? Good. So there's two quotes from Shawshank Redemption, and if you know this story, you'll appreciate this even more. But even if you don't, I think you'll hear this. Red says, "Hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man insane." And he's right. I don't know if you've thought about this, but man, you start hoping that things can be different, and that can be a little dangerous. If you put your hope in something that isn't hope-worthy, it will drive you insane. If there's no way something could happen. But with God, all things are possible. Then, interestingly, Red's friend, Andy, and if you know the story, you'll appreciate when Andy says this, he's working toward the eventual end of the story. I won't ruin the movie for you, but here's what Andy says. Hope is a good thing, maybe even the best thing. And when you think about Andy and his hope and where he ended up, it's like, oh, something had to be alive inside of him, hopeful, in order to end up where he ended up. Now, of course, it's not just the movies, right? Actually, the story of Christmas is all over the Bible, and it's always attached to hope. I'm going to read you some passages that are about Jesus coming into the world and then see how these authors attach hope to it. The first is from Isaiah. I don't know if you know this, but kids, get this. Isaiah lived 700 years before Jesus. 700 years. But when he wrote about it, God had given him supernaturally some understanding of what was going to happen. So he wrote about it so clearly, even though it was 700 years. He says, "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given." And then he says this, "Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength." Don't miss this. Part of what hope is when we bet on God is that he will give us a strength that we do not have ourselves to endure things and overcome the things that are in front of us. In Micah, also written 700 years before Jesus was born, he knew, but 700 years before it happened, that Jesus was going to be born in Bethlehem. And this is what he writes, "Bethlehem, out of you will come for me the one who is the ruler over Israel." And then he says, "As for me, I watch in hope for the Lord. I wait for God, my Savior." And I think what a powerful posture if you're open to it, that you watch in hope for what God would do in your life. That might change the way you see next year. You know, when you get to the New Testament, there were some people who were telling the very story of Jesus' life in real time, not 700 years before. One of them was Matthew. And Matthew, I'm going to read you part of what he wrote. This is when the wise men come and see the star, and then you'll see a conclusion after that. It says, "After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, 'Where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose and have come to worship him.'" And it's just this amazing journey that these leaders from far off came to see the Christ child. And then toward The later section of Matthew, he writes this: in his name, the nations will put their hope. That's the idea. Hope is the first cousin of trust. And when we talk about putting our hope, not just betting on ourselves, but in the one who is beyond us, things can be different. And then there's Luke. This is probably the most well-known telling of Jesus' birth story. So let me read to you the narrative from Luke and then see where that goes with hope. In those days, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that a census should be taken of the entire Roman world. This was the first census that took place while Quirinius was governor of Syria. And everyone went to their own town to register. So Joseph also went up from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to Bethlehem, the town of David, because he belonged to the house and the line of David. He went there to register with Mary, who was pledged to be married to him and was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for the baby to be born. And she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths, and she placed him in a manger. And this is the night that is described when God interrupted the natural order of things and sent his son into this world. His son would eventually grow up. He would be the greatest teacher the world has ever known. He would perform miracles as signs and wonders that he was a deity and that God's power is available even in this natural world. He would welcome people who others dismissed, and he would extend grace and forgiveness to everyone. Eventually, he would give his own life on a cross. And when Luke records that part of the story, he has a moment. It says the chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem. Now, kids, I don't know if you've ever been in this situation. I'm sure all the grown-ups have, where you hoped for something, and then it looked like it wasn't going to happen. He was the one we hoped for. He was the one that was going to bring redemption for all of us. And for a little while, it looked like it wasn't going to happen. It didn't mean it wasn't going to happen. It just felt that way. And that's part of the nature of hope, that you just hold on. So, a lot of times in church world, Christmas is called the Advent season. The Advent is the idea of the coming of Christ. And maybe you grew up in a church that would light candles like this. Traditionally, they would light one candle each week during the Advent season for all of us to appreciate what was happening with Christ's coming. The first candle of the season is always the candle of hope. It's the anticipation that God really is here and God really is with us. That when we calculate what can happen in our lives, we don't have to just calculate and bet on ourselves, but that the supernatural is available. But it's not just supernatural things to get our things done. It's interesting, as you progress through the weeks, the second Advent candle is the candle of love. And this candle is the reminder that, as John 3:16 tells us, that God so loved the world that he gave his son into the world. You know, it's impossible to love without giving. Perhaps the very best definition of love is that you would sacrifice yourself for someone else, and that's what God has done for us. But the candle of love, I think, is so powerful at Christmas because a lot of people yearn to be loved. Maybe you. And this is a reminder that God himself, who knows you better than you know you, loves you more than you could ever imagine. And you can place your hope in that love. The third candle of Advent is the pink candle or the rose candle. It's a candle of joy. This is a joy that captures us in a unique way because for a lot of us, we aim our sights too low in life. What do I hear all the time? And maybe you've said this, I just want to be happy. But happiness and joy are not the same thing. And when people aim their life at happiness, what we're aiming at is that our circumstances would work out to make us feel good. But joy is the gift that comes from God that transcends our circumstances so that even when things are not good, you have hope that you can transcend it with a deep sense of joy. The fourth candle is the candle of peace. And of course, when Isaiah is describing the one who will come, he calls Jesus the Prince of Peace. Peace is probably the thing that I find when I talk to people in our church that seems most elusive. Like I just can't capture it. But part of our hope this Christmas is that the Prince of Peace has come and that we can rest in that. This is a peace that I can't explain. It can only be experienced. But when we open ourselves to it, to the supernatural, that God is with us, it brings peace. The last candle, the white candle, is the Christ candle. And traditionally it's lit at midnight on December 24th as the calendar turns to December 25th. You know, we've used December 25th to celebrate Christ's coming, Jesus' birthday, if you will, for a long, long time. But of course, nobody really knows whether it was December 25th that Jesus was born. I guess, if you're thinking about it, there's about a 1 in 365 chance that they got the day right. But long ago, when the church was setting the dates for Christmas, what they started to think about was to say, hey, we should arrange to celebrate this in the season of the year that's the darkest. In the season of the year that's the coldest. And of course, that's not just a season of the year. A lot of times it's the season of our lives. And so the message this Christmas that you can place your hope in is that there is one who has come and he sent his son so that you know that he loves you. That there's a joy that transcends just our circumstances and happiness. That there's a peace that passes understanding. And he would meet you if you face the darkness. Romans puts all of that into one simple verse when it says, "May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope." That's my prayer for you tonight and in this season. Well, I really hope that was helpful for integrating faith with life. Listen, if you're in Northwest Indiana, I'd love to have you join us in person. Head over to suncrest.org and plan your visit.